Looking for you. I'm looking for you. Don't know where to go. Don't know what to do.
Hey, Carla here. You're watching the Surf Institute Video Library.
For this episode, we're going to break down the basic design elements of your longboard. Let's go take a look.
There are many elements of a longboard that make it ride the way it does. In this episode, we'll talk about rails, tails, and the nose. First, let's talk about the rails. Their shape and thickness are elements that affect the way a board reacts when moving along the surface of the ocean. Rails can be shaped with a 50-50 or hard edge. 50-50 or soft rails provide more stability and forgiveness when transitioning from rail to rail. This rail has a rounder shape that sits higher on the water's surface. Because this type of rail lacks a sharp edge on the bottom, water can freely flow out from the bottom of the board as you plane down the face of the wave. However, in larger, steeper surf, the lack of edge can make it more challenging to keep the rail from disengaging and sliding down the face. A downturned rail is rounded until 3/4 down the rail, where it then develops a harder, lower edge. This harder edge is commonly used in more progressive longboards to offer quick maneuverability and can hold better in larger surf. However, a downturned rail that runs the entire length of a longboard can cause a beginner surfer to dig the rail more easily. Deciding on thickness of a longboard varies by rider. The average longboard thickness can range from 2.5 to 3.5 inches. Beginners will find fatter boards more stable when both riding and paddling. Unlike in shortboarding, the longboarder spends considerable time on the nose. The average width of a classic style nose rider is 18 to 19 inches. Many longboarders have concave on the bottom of the nose, which assists in nose riding. Generally, the wider the nose, the more stable it will be for the rider. However, too much width may push or catch water, slowing it down. The more narrow a nose is, the less stable and more sensitive it is. It may require the rider to be more quick and agile when nose riding. Less area on a narrow-nosed longboard cuts through the water faster because there's less friction. Concave occurs when the bottom side of the nose is scooped out. There are many different variations to transition the board's bottom into the concave, which can vary from being very shallow to extremely deep. When concave is put into a longboard, it creates an air pocket, offering the rider more lift on the nose. There are a different number of tail shapes and widths. In this episode, I'll talk about the characteristics and functionality of the square tail and the pin tail. The average tail width is roughly 14 to 15 inches. The square tail is the most commonly used longboard tail. The noticeable angles or corners allow the rider to pivot the board with quicker ease because water is released more easily out the back. A pointed tail on a board is known as a pin tail. It offers more hold and control but does not pivot like a square tail. Instead, most pintails require a longer, more drawn-out turn, harnessing more energy, and therefore speed down the line. No matter the tail, there are options of varying widths on a longboard. A wide tail provides stability and flotation for most longboarders. The narrower tail will sink more in the water, giving more bite, allowing for more control to shift from rail to rail in big waves. Most longboards have the widest point of the longboard near the center of the board. When a longboard is shaped with the wide point further back toward the tail, the pivot point is also further back, making it easier for the rider to turn. Alrighty, wow, that was a lot of info. Let's go ahead and break it down. 50-50 or soft rails provide more stability and forgiveness when transitioning from rail to rail. A harder edged rail is commonly used in more progressive longboards to offer quick maneuverability and can hold better in larger surf. When it comes to the nose, a wider nose is more stable but can catch water, slowing the board down. The narrower nose is less stable and more sensitive as it cuts through the water with less friction. Placing concave in the nose creates an air pocket, lifting it when nose riding. Finally, square tails allow you to pivot your longboard with more ease, while a pin tail will project speed from a longer, drawn-out turn. I hope you found this episode useful. Happy sliding!
Looking for you.